Welcome to The Gathering with Dr. Dennis Sempebwa. Dennis was born in the midst of anarchy, extreme poverty, and unimaginable adversity in Uganda, Africa. It is there that Jesus Christ transformed his life at a mass crusade in 1980. Shortly thereafter, Dennis answered the same invitation that Christ extends to all his disciples. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. And for more than 3 decades, Dennis has had the privilege of sharing Christ with multiplied millions in over 60 countries. Whether it is in Kampala, London, Manila, Chicago, or Melbourne, we are witnessing spectacular miracles, signs, wonders, deliverances, and real-life transformations as we declare the full gospel of the kingdom of God upon the earth. Now let us join Dr. Dennis as he shares with us today on The Gathering.
Praise the Lord, hallelujah.
Hello, welcome to The Gathering. For those of you joining us for the first time, just relax, sit back, and just get into the stories. We're bringing you stories on this show of the workings of God around the world. Before he ascends up to heaven, Jesus calls his most outspoken disciple, Peter. And this is after Peter has betrayed him, he has fallen, he is really pretty much messed up. But Jesus comes and says to him, Peter. He doesn't rebuke him, he doesn't reprimand him, but instead he does the most incredible thing. He says, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. My church. Church, Greek word, classical Greek, ekklesia, means assembly, gathering, the called out ones. And that's what we're seeing around the world. Jesus building his church. Broken people, wounded people, black, red, yellow, all races, all creeds, Catholics, Protestants, and Baptists, and Episcopalians, people of all races, all denominations, centered around this one primary driving purpose: to build the kingdom of God. I'm not suggesting that everybody, there's all these roads that lead to God. No, I'm saying that in these denominations, in these creeds, in these locations, there are the chosen, called out ones who have formed the assembly, the church of Jesus Christ. And he's still performing miracles, signs, wonders, and those are the stories that we bring you each week. And today I'm joined by Cam, good friend. Hi, Cam, Mary, hello, and Philip.
Hello.
And Lisa.
Hello.
All part of this global gathering of saints. And we're featuring a story of a man whom is dearly beloved by me and my wife. And he's an adopted father of mine, actually. His name, Dr. Philip Myles. Philip has an incredible story. God linked our hearts, and really our hearts, years ago. But he has a most amazing story, and that I think we should just enjoy in this show today. So Philip, Papa, Mzee, affectionately called Mzee. For those of you who don't know, it's a Swahili term for affectionate Swahili term for wise old man, and he indeed is wise. But Mzee is not old; he's wise. But Mzee, where does the journey begin for you?
Well, it began as a suddenly.
Yeah, suddenly.
If you ever have something happen to you all of a sudden, that's bad.
Yeah.
That would be like Hiroshima. All of a sudden, you're shopping, you're doing something,
wow,
and boom, there's an atomic bomb. Well, there was a bomb that landed in my house, meaning that I got a phone call. It was on a Wednesday night, and my daughter Dana said, Mom has been shot. And 2 minutes later, she called back and says, Mom died. Now, I had just dropped Dana off for a teenage Bible study. And this was not in a low-income neighborhood where the Bible study was. And I was going on tour the next day, a 10-city tour with one of our artists. And all of a sudden, there it is. Your wife is dead, so they say.
Now, before you go on, I've got.
I was going to say, that's crazy. Here you're doing what you feel God has you led to do, and your wife gets shot. I mean, were you angry at God at that point?
I was so stunned.
You were still numb?
Yes. First of all, I know better than to be angry at him. I was a Bible teacher at that time, but I was so stunned. All I knew to do was to call the prayer chain.
Yeah.
I called the prayer chain, and two of the members in my group were at the hospital pretty fast. I went back to where that was to pick my wife up because I had dropped her off, and then she was going to pick up my daughter Dana. And what happened was that she was driving down the street, and there was a car coming toward her, and they had no lights on. So a courtesy, you flicker your lights to tell them you don't have lights on. Well, that's a gang signal to that's who you need to get. So she was a part of a carjack and a gang initiation. Because to be into this gang, you have to kill somebody. So that if any of the other gang members get accused of a crime, they can't talk. You can't say anything because they know you killed somebody. So everybody's guilty of murder that's in this gang. And they came to her. I had just given her like $100 for some things to do. And they followed her. She was on her way to make some copies. And she complied. They said, give me your briefcase. And they shot her in the left arm through the window. And it went through that, and it went through her heart. And when I got the call that said that she was shot, I began to follow. And when I went back to where I was, I saw the ambulance come out. And so I followed the ambulance. And I could see them through the window in the back with the metal plates going.
This is like a movie.
Yeah.
And I could see all of this, but I knew the prayer team, some 600 people were praying, you know, for her life. When I got to the hospital, in the emergency room, those guys didn't know who I was, the paramedics. And so one guy was saying, she's a goner. She's a goner. So why are they trying to remove the bullet? Any surgery? She's gone. She's gone. And I was standing there, and I heard that. And then they escorted me and my son, who was in the car with her. He
With
tried
her?
To, yeah. They
Your
tried to
son
revive
was
her.
in the car.
He did. He tried to give her CPR
Your
and put the
son.
car in gear to go someplace. And he couldn't. He was only 9 years old.
Yeah.
And so he's in this room in the hospital. I'm in this room. And because there's so many murders that go on in L.A., it takes a long time for the coroner to do something. Because stuff is happening every day. That same week, Bill Cosby's son was murdered. Stevie Wonder's bodyguard at his studio was murdered. And those were the profile cases besides the others.
Yeah.
So here I am in the waiting room, and they're asking me for paperwork. What's your wife's name? I couldn't remember her name or her date of birth.
No.
I'm sitting there not knowing, and so I was asking the Lord, can I go in and pray and she'll be raised from the dead? I was doing all of these things. But they said to wait. When I went in with Leon and Earl Cole, Leon Patillo, and her body, who's been waiting so long, began to feel hard and start to turn purple. Because it's just so long waiting on the coroner to come. And so he read the 23rd Psalms, Leon did, over her. And then they just said, well, there's nothing else that we can do. So they send us to a room. And my son was in there, and he didn't know what was going on. He just knew, mommy, 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 mommy. And the ER room, there was over 200 people that came to the hospital. There was church on Wednesday night, a church on the way in the valley. And the people said, who is this woman? Who is this woman that all these people are here about? And I could not grasp what was going on. And for 2 days, we went back to the house. I never slept for 2 days. Leon played the piano and sang worship songs all night. My oldest daughter came in late, and she thought it was because she's kind of been going away being a little teenage alcoholic. So she was saying it was my fault. It was my fault, and or either saying this isn't happening. And I said, Michelle, this house is full of people. And this is on a Wednesday night, and school is going on. This is real. But she was just really in denial. And I began to ask the Lord, why?
Yeah.
So we serve God. I teach a Bible study.
That's it. That's
Why?
it. That's it.
Why? And he showed me within 2 days a billboard for Budweiser beer. He could speak through a jackass of a donkey. He can speak. And they had a campaign slogan then that said, "Why ask why?"
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah, you remember that. It says, "Why ask why?" Well, why would you ask Budweiser should you drink Miller? Because they're the king of beers.
Yeah.
We know how to make the best beer. So God was asking me, why are you asking me why? And I was set free. Her brothers and sisters were not, and my kids were not. But I was set free when he said, why ask why? And then Pastor Frank Wilson, bless his soul, he's gone to be with the Lord now, he walked in and he said, Job said, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. And I held on that verse for 5 years. They could not find the murderers. They did not know the ID. My son slept with me for 6 months in the same bed because he was afraid. And then I didn't know what to do, so I got 8 of her dresses and put them on the side of the bed so it would feel like somebody was there. And it was one of those things going, and every time we would come up next to a car, Joshua would say, Daddy, what if this man has a gun? What if they have a gun? Because he was there. Yeah, he was there. He missed 2 years of school. They had to set him back twice. Because and then he became very angry.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
He became very angry. And I became a teen mom. I was trying to understand, you know, the kid would get a hit and they run out and they get on second base, hi, Mom. But my son couldn't say, hi, Mom. And the ladies who became a teen mom, you bring the cookies and the stuff and the little drinks afterwards. And
Or the pizza.
yeah, the pizza, or the Rice Krispies with molasses.
Right.
And I just went and bought some old cookies and thing that you stick in and you suck it out. And I felt so sorry for him. And he had one game at our church the following 4 days. And he had crazy range in shooting. He's 9 years old. Wherever he shot the ball, it went in. He scored 23 points that day. 9-year-olds don't do that. They even had a 7-foot goal. He was coming, as soon as he crossed the goal line, he said, the half-court line. And you could see the ball going like this, and then it would go like this and go right in the hole. And everybody was so amazed that he was able to come through that. And then a struggle started of how am I going to cope with this? Because I'm a believer.
That's right.
That's
Will
right.
I leave God?
That's right.
How can I be a dad and a
That's
mom? And it took 4 years for all that to come. But at the time, I was playing like I knew what was okay.
Of course.
They had a big press conference, and I said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. And all of these different things. You know, NBC came over, then we're on the Most Wanted on NBC too, and then on CNN Live, you know, they had that because all these murders were going on of high-profile people.
Of course.
And I'm trying to think of their last name, but she writes a lot of Christian books. My wife was a bookkeeper for all of them. And so Smokey Robinson came to the press conference. Tavani came.
Giovanni,
Yeah, and his wife came. And then there were other people in our Bible study in Hollywood that had, you know, names and such
Yeah.
to say we knew her. Why is this happening?
Yeah, and Philip, by the way, was he was these names. These guys don't just come to anybody's funeral. Philip was a high-profile manager at the time, and here he was, and high-profile and just outspoken disciple, servant, a pastor, and this is happening. This is,
And you know, I'm sitting here, Dr. Philip, and I'm sorry, I wanted to like interrupt you a few times, and I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sitting here listening to your story, and my heart's just pounding. And and you're a minister, you're a pastor, you're helping others as they're walking through similar things like this in your life. And I'm listening to your story, and I'm listening to you say how your son is